Hi, I'm Sharon, and I'll lead you through a 40-minute beginner flow. For props, let's have a blanket and a block handy or something comparable, maybe a pillow, a towel, just something you can use for a little bit of support. If you'd like to put music on in your background as you watch this, you can, but this will be a quieter practice with just my vocal cueing. So let's make our way over to the mat and let's have our block and our blanket handy. Then let's lower down onto the back body, carefully rounding the spine down, chin towards the chest. Let's start out by taking a full body stretch. Let's rotate hands and feet at wrists and ankles, spreading between fingers and toes, reaching fingers, tips away from you. And then let's rotate in the opposite direction. Starting to take some deep, full breaths. And then let's bend the knees, pick up the feet, bring the thighs in towards the belly. Let's rock from side to side, just starting to get some of the tension out of the back body that may have settled there. And let's separate the legs slightly and rotate the lower body, making a circle, so that the weight of your body is tracing a little circle on the lower back, massaging that sacral area. Again, keeping the breath soft, slow, deep, and then rotating the legs in the opposite direction, making that little circle. And then let's settle into constructive rest pose. So knees are bent, soles of feet come down onto the mat about all the way out to the edges of the mat. Let's angle the feet inward from the ankles, which will cause the inner thighs to come together and support one another. Knees might be touching. Let's place our hands on our lower belly. Take a slow breath in. Let that breath flood all the way down to the belly so it expands into your hands, floods down to the lower back, and then exhale, maybe out the mouth, out the nostrils, and just starting to soften the front body if you're holding any tension there. Inhale, breathing in. Exhale, softening, imagining that the front of the rib cage, collarbones, sternum are just softening down towards the back body. Just making a quality connection with our breath that will carry through the entire practice. Maybe one hand on the heart, one hand on the belly, if that feels good, so that you can really feel that expansion, that full body breath. Feel the breath moving up and down the back, horizontally across, diagonally. Maybe taking this time to set an intention for your practice. And this is the fourth in a series of beginning yoga classes called Foundations of Yoga. And we'll be flowing and integrating what we've learned in the previous classes. So let your arms relax down to the mat and start to heel toe your feet inward so they're hip width apart, soles of feet resting on the mat, arms alongside the body, palms down. We'll move into a bridge flow, so take an inhale. As you exhale, press through the feet, through the heels, and just start to lift the hips just as far upward as you feel comfortable. And then lowering back down. So with the breath, you can utilize it any way you want. So try different methods. Maybe on an inhale, lift up the hips. And as you exhale, lower the spine, lower the hips. Let's start to add the arms. Take an inhale, arms reach up, hips lift up, extending arms along the floor behind you. If this is uncomfortable for the shoulders, bring a bend into the elbows to create more space in the shoulders. Inhale and exhale, lowering back down. So let's repeat that flow at your own breath pace. Inhaling, really pressing through the heels to ignite the glutes, the back of the lower body to support you in this movement. Keeping the torso, the belly soft. So it's not really a back bend. We don't need to jut our rib cage upward. We're just keeping softness through the torso, while utilizing the strength of the lower body to lift up and down out of bridge. Let's do a couple more. The next time we come to the top of bridge, let's stay there. And let's hold for about 3 to 5 counts, really pressing through the feet, through the heels. Softening the belly, softening the sternum. And then bringing your hands to your hips. Take an inhale. As you exhale, let's lengthen the spine by pushing our hips away from us towards the foot of the mat. As the hips, tailbone lower down to the mat, take an inhale, pick up the feet. Exhale, extend the feet, legs, arms, hands up towards the ceiling. Let's rotate hands and feet here. Should feel really good to bring that length into the back of the legs, the hamstrings, and then rotate hands and feet in the opposite direction. Okay. And then let's bend knees, bring the feet back down to the mat. Let's tip over to one side and make our way up. And let's just sit for a quick moment and bring some mobility into the neck. So sitting in any comfortable position. Okay, supporting the legs. If this isn't comfortable with this much bending, flexion in the knees, you could sit like this. Okay. So even be sitting in a chair if that is something that you prefer. So hands resting here on legs. Let's take an inhale as we root down, imagining we're rooting through the tailbone into the earth, lifting up through the crown of the head. On an exhale, right ear lowers towards the right shoulder. Maybe move the head gently forward and back, being very careful with the neck and just keeping the sensation here in the range of comfort, release, stretch. And then let's bring the chin towards center, towards the chest. Maybe bring your hands behind the back of the head and just gently pressing on the back of the head. Hands come back down, left ear towards left shoulder. So let's just continue that little half circle. Bringing movement and mobility into the neck. If any particular areas feel interesting to you, maybe just staying a little bit longer there. And just little tiny movements if there's any stiffness. And then one more little self-adjustment. So let's bring the chin forward and then start to tip your head to the right. Okay, so I'm kind of like not all the way with the ear over the right shoulder. I'm sort of halfway between the chin at center and the head all the way to the right. And then bring that right hand over the top of the head and just a gentle tugging down. So you may feel this along the back side of the neck, even down to the left shoulder blade. And you can gently tip your head back and forth a little bit, just exploring sensation. It's a great way to access that soft tissue around the shoulder blades, under the shoulder blades, And lower that right hand, bring the chin to center. Now bring your head over towards the left. And let's bring that left hand over the back of the head. Tugging downward, just exploring here. So you may really feel this. There's a muscle under the shoulder blade called the subscapularis. So I'm right-handed and I'm definitely feeling this under my right shoulder blade. It's great. And then left hand floats down, coming back. Take an inhale. On an exhale, bring the arms out to the side. Another inhale and exhale. Start to twist to the right. So this left hand could either come inside the left leg or it can cross over the right leg. Just make sure you're keeping length through the spine, turning your head all the way to the right behind you, releasing any tension in the neck. Inhale back to center with arms out to the side. Exhale, twisting to the left. Again, either option with the arms. Keeping the chin in towards the throat rather than jutting it outward. Let's do that a couple more times to each side at your own breath pace. Inhaling to center. Exhale, just twisting and wringing out, starting to warm up the back before we begin to move a bit more. Coming back to center, hands lower down. Let's just take a brief pause here, letting this first intro into our practice download into the body, into the nervous system, that mindful breathing, mindful movement. And then let's begin to make our way onto hands and knees into table pose. Let's start to move into cow-cat. So hands could be shoulder width apart or wider. Knees could be hip width or wider. It's up to you. See what feels good. Inhale, moving into cow. So the belly drops down, the tailbone tilts up, and the back of the head tilts up. Press through the palms, separating shoulder blades. And exhale, rounding into cat. The spine moves in the opposite direction. And let's repeat that. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. And inhaling, cow. This time as you exhale into cat, let's bring the hips all the way to the heels. Press through the palms as you kind of ignite the muscles of the arms, so it's a more active child's pose. Ears are between the biceps. And then inhale, coming back up into cow. Exhale, cat. Hips lowering to heels, pressing through the palms. Do a couple more of those movements at your own breath pace. Okay. Then let's come all the way forward onto the front body. Let's take a full body stretch here. So your face is just hovering above the mat, reaching fingertips and toes in the opposite direction as you lengthen the body. And then start to lower the forearms onto the mat, slide them towards you, coming into Sphinx Pose. Palms are resting down, fingers are relaxed. Relax the glutes, the lower body. And then let's just bring gentle movement as we move the torso laterally to the right, back to center, to the left. Inhale as you come to center. Exhale as you move over to the left. And repeating that one more time to each side. We'll start to add a little strength building here. So we're coming into a forearm plank. And you can do this by coming onto knees or tucking toes under. So take an inhale. As you exhale, start to press through the thighs, then the knees. As you lift your hips, igniting your core, keeping your head and your hips and back in more or less the same plane. So the hips aren't coming way up. Lifting from the back of the skull. Chin is moving towards the throat. And then lower back down. So lowering thighs and belly. And we'll repeat that maybe 3 to 5 times. Take an inhale. Exhale, start to press through thighs, knees. Start to lift the lower belly, igniting the core. And lowering back down. It's a wave-like movement through the body. Exhaling as you're in that more exerted phase of lifting into your forearm plank. Exhaling as you lower down. So you may find that your knees start to travel away from you, so that's fine. Just bring your arms back just a bit. Forearms, elbows, hands. And then this last time as we come into this plank, forearm plank, let's hold for several counts. Keeping that same relaxed quality to those slow inhales and exhales. And then lowering all the way down. Let's stack one hand on top of the other, palms facing down, forehead resting on back of hands. Take a couple of full breaths. And then starting to lift the head, the chest, slide hands under shoulders. Shoulder blades glide down the back, squeezing elbows, arms in towards the body. Start to lift the chest, belly, thighs, coming into table. And let's reach all the way up here, coming onto knees, arms reaching overhead. Come back into table and let's tuck toes under, come into your first downward dog. Start to walk your dog, maybe bending one knee, then the other. Rolling the feet, stretching the feet. Just coming into this very first edge of your first downward dog in this practice. And let's take several breaths here. So not important to have legs straight. What we're aiming for is length through the spine. So if straightening the legs causes you to round your back like this, instead, bend the knees, tip the tailbone up, and bring length through the spine. So from here, you can bend your knees and start to step forward towards the top of the mat. Bring your feet wider than the hips, bend your knees, come into a forward fold. Take several breaths here, maybe hands holding on to the base of the skull here, adding a little more weight so you can traction the spine. And then start to bend the knees more, lifting the torso, bringing hands on thighs. Inhale, exhale, pressing through the legs, coming all the way up, arms reaching overhead. Hands, arms come down into mountain pose. So arms could be by your side. Rooting through the feet, maybe lift the toes, separate them, and then set them back down, starting with the little baby toes, moving all the way to the big toes. That's really very healthy for the feet to articulate that movement. So again, lifting the toes, separating, spreading them, setting them down, starting with the little baby toes, moving to the bigger toes. So we'll start to build a little flow here, rooting through the feet, finding your breath, the quality of your breath, keeping it soft and slow. Okay, from here, root down through the feet and shift your weight to the right leg. Start to pick up the left leg. So you could lift it all the way up. You could keep the ball of the left foot on the floor. And then exhale, step back into warrior one. So making sure that your feet are wide apart so that you have a good footprint to balance. And that legs aren't too far apart this way. And then let's reach arms overhead if that feels good in the shoulders. Inhale. Let's tilt forward from the hips. Exhale. Arms come down. Inhale. And exhale, really rooting through that back leg to give you that support. This is the third time. And from here, let's start to heel toe the feet into warrior two. So the feet will come a little wider this way. We want to center the torso over the legs rather than moving this way. So I find it helpful to place hand on belly, hand on heart, and I just kind of feel where I am over my legs. Another nice self-adjustment is to assist with the external rotation in this front thigh, because that knee and that thigh want to internally rotate oftentimes. And look at your right knee. Make sure it's tracking over that first and second toe, so it's not pronating inward, okay? Root down through the feet. Arms can come out to the side, maybe palms up, whichever feels best in your shoulders. Taking a couple of breaths here, that back leg is straight. And then peaceful warrior. So the left hand lowers down, torso tilts to the left. So I'm not hanging on to my left leg for dear life. I'm just letting that left hand rest. So it's not about going as far as you can. It's about creating length through the torso so that it feels really good, like a release. Keep that front knee bending. Coming back to center, we'll do a side angle. So bring that right forearm on the right thigh. Make sure you're opening your torso up. Left arm could reach overhead if that feels good. It could reach down alongside your body. You could even internally rotate it, pointing the thumb down, bending that left elbow, sliding the back of the left hand behind the lower back. And then from here, let's lower that left hand, pivot onto the ball of your left foot, and move your right foot towards the right edge of your mat. Hands plant down. You'll ignite your core, lift the right foot, step back. From here, we'll come into downward dog. Take some full breaths here. And start to step forward to the top of the mat, forward fold. Soften, release the neck. Weight of the head hangs. Inhale, rising all the way back up, pressing through your legs. Exhale, mountain pose. Arms come down by your side. Root down through the feet. Find your breath. How is that breath moving through you? So if it's shortened and kind of staccato, let's lengthen those long inhales and exhales. Root down through the feet. Start to shift your weight to the left foot. Maybe pick up the right leg. Inhale, exhale, warrior one. Arms come up. Inhale, exhale, tipping forward from the hips. We'll do that 3 times. I think, okay, maybe this is the 4th, doesn't matter. So warrior one, arms extended, and heel toe start to pivot into warrior two. So I'm gonna turn around now, so I'm facing forward. Again, centering the torso over the legs. Any self-adjustments. Make sure that back foot, the back edge of the foot is parallel to the back edge of the mat, and you're not rolling in on the arch of the foot. Okay? So from here, inhale, lengthen the torso, exhale. Peaceful warrior. So that right hand lowers to the right leg, that left arm reaches up and over. Back to center. That left forearm or left hand comes down on the left thigh. That right arm might reach forward. It might reach alongside your body, whatever feels good. Coming back out, that right arm windmills overhead. Both hands come down, the left foot moves over towards the left side of the mat. You're on the ball of the right foot. Core is ignited. Inhale. Exhale, step the left foot back. From here, let's lower knees, thighs, belly, chest. Let's lift arms and legs, coming into locust. And then lower the tops of the feet. Hands come down outside the ribs. Bring the shoulder blades down the back. Squeeze arms, elbows in, lift up. Come into plank. Maybe knees down, maybe knees up. Coming up into downward dog. Walking all the way to the top of the mat. Arms reach overhead and come down by your side. So we'll go through that flow again. We'll connect the two sides so it's more fluid. Rooting through the feet. Shifting the weight to the right foot. Inhale, left leg picks up, balance. Exhale, warrior one. Root that left leg down. Inhale, arms flowing several times. And then shifting into warrior two. Taking a couple of breaths in warrior two. Peaceful warrior. Side angle pose. Both hands come down, pivot on the ball of the left foot. Step back into plank. Come back into downward dog. Step forward to the top of the mat. Release the neck. On an exhale, lift all the way back up. Arms come down by your side. Find the breath, regulate the breath, calming the body, helping us recover more efficiently from any kind of exertion, whether mental or physical. Rooting through the feet, shifting the weight to the left leg, picking up the right leg. Inhale, exhale, stepping back to warrior one and flowing the arms several times. Breath at the top of that warrior one. And then start to pivot into warrior two. And again, I'm going to flip around, centering the torso over the legs. Peaceful warrior. Side angle. So my forearm is on my leg, but I'm not just leaning, it's barely touching. Something I like to do to just test that is bring my hand up to my heart. And so I'm heel toeing my back foot in, then bringing my hands down, stepping the left foot back into plank. From here, this time, let's flow into downward dog, back into plank, lower the knees, thighs, belly, chest. Let's stack the hands one on top of the other, palms down. Coming into crocodile pose, so legs are slightly spread and externally rotated, so the arches of the feet are just resting on the floor, forehead resting on the back of the hands. Stay here for about 5 slow breaths. Using that deep belly breathing to efficiently recover from that movement. And then let's slowly bend the knees. So let's keep the legs wide as we bend the knees and then lower the legs to the right. The lower legs, the feet and the lower legs, then lower them over to the left. So it's like an upside down windshield wiper pose. So as the legs lower to the left, that right hip will lift up slightly. That's fine. Same thing on the other side. Okay, then let's lower the legs back down. Let's come back into Sphinx Pose on forearms. And again, a little lateral movement, side to side. You might feel more opening now along the side bodies between the ribs. And then let's come back into table. And let's do a little side twist. So this is called figure 4. So let's see, the best way to show you this, I'm going to face you. So let's turn our right hand inward. My hand's a little bit wider if necessary. Inhale, that left arm comes up. Exhale, as I lower that left hand, I thread it between, I'm going to turn this way now so you can see my right hand and my right knee. I'm lowering all the way down. And then with that right hand, I'm just pushing my body a little bit towards the left. I'm getting a nice opening around that left shoulder blade, getting a nice slight little twist through the torso. My left temple, left cheek, left side of my head is resting on the mat. And then on an inhale, breathing in, exhale, start to press through that right hand, lift that left arm back up, and then come back into table. So taking that movement to the other side, we'll turn that left hand in slightly, and my knees are wider than my hips. Inhale, right arm moves up. Exhale, that right hand threads between the left hand, left knee. Like this, I'm lowering down. My left fingers are kind of right in front of my face, pointing towards me, maybe 6 inches away, but getting some leverage, pressing through that left hand. I'm able to open up around the right shoulder blade and getting a nice gentle twist through the torso. Deep breaths in this twist, wringing out the waist, the torso, abdominal organs. When you're ready to come up, press through that left hand. That right arm comes up, reaches up, and then coming back into table, crossing the legs, coming back onto the back body. Let's set up for our final relaxation pose, Shavasana. So any props that you have, you could use. We never use the block, but we still have the blanket. We could roll it up and just place it underneath the thighs to support the legs. Helps to release tension in the lower back, coming all the way down onto the back body. Extending the legs. Get yourself set up just right so you feel very comfortable and you can become physically still. Maybe placing a scarf or a sleeve over your eyes just to block out some of that light in the room, if there is any. Maybe a blanket over you. Any other props that make you feel comfortable, at ease. Just enjoying the tranquility that can be found in this last posture, the most important pose of the practice, Shavasana. It allows for the integration of the entire practice into our body, into our mind. If you are distracted by your thoughts, that's really normal. Just let the thoughts rather continue to float by you as if they're on a stream, part of a stream. Water, maybe leaves floating on water. Just you're aware of them, you're aware that they're moving away from you, and then come back to your breath. And just repeat that whenever you need to. Don't resist the thoughts, don't fight them. Just acknowledge them and come back to the breath. I'm going to encourage you to stay in this pose for another 5, maybe 10 minutes, depending on when you're watching this or participating with this recorded yoga class. Just let yourself rest deeply. And thank you for letting me guide you through this practice.